Have you ever stopped to think that maybe one of your best qualities, something you're really proud of, could actually be, well, a trap? Today, we're going to dive into this really powerful essay by an author named Salima. She found out that her greatest strength, her patience, was also her biggest weakness.
So, for pretty much her whole life, this was her motto. I am a very patient person, but don't push me against the wall. I mean, a lot of us can probably relate to that, right? It sounds strong, like you've got this calm control, but also a clear line people can't cross. On the surface, it seems like a great way to be.
But then comes this one question that just flips everything on its head. What if that patience was actually a trap all along? Think about that. What if the story we tell ourselves about who we are is actually hiding a pattern that isn't helping us at all, a pattern that's costing us big time? Okay, so let's get into our first section, the patience trap. The subtitle says it all, how a virtue became a vicious cycle. Yeah, she started to see that this whole identity wasn't a virtue at all. It was a cycle, and a vicious one. Her so-called patience always ended in regret, because it wasn't really about being strong. It was about just complying. And here's where it gets really real. This wasn't just, waiting in line patiently. We're talking about tolerating things she really didn't like, with people who, let's be honest, didn't deserve that kind of grace. And get this, even when she was paying for a service. This wasn't patience. This was putting up with stuff at the expense of her own self-respect. All right, moving on to Section 2, the cost of compliance. Subtitle, an agreement that revealed a painful truth. To really get what this cost her, we've got to look at a specific story from her life. It's an agreement she made that just perfectly lays out how this whole pattern worked and the painful truth it finally brought to light. So the story kicks off with her making an agreement with this woman who laid out some pretty outrageous terms. I mean, they were totally unfair from the get-go. But because she was so caught up in being patient and agreeable, she just went along with it. And right there, she opened the door to a really messed up imbalance situation. And yep, here's where you see the price she paid. She did everything she was supposed to do, held up her end of the deal completely. But the other person? Nope, not at all. So all that patience didn't earn her any respect, it didn't make things fair. It just taught the other person that she would put up with the unfairness. But here's the real kicker. It wasn't just a one-time thing. This cycle of accepting disrespect, getting way less than she deserved, and then, this is the crazy part, choosing to do it all over again. It became this deep, deep habit. This right here is the patience trap in full effect. Wow, and this quote just nails it. The moment you open the door and let it in, don't be surprised when it shows up uninvited, sitting at your breakfast table, making demands. I mean, what a powerful way to put it. She's basically saying that when you tolerate a little bit of disrespect, you're inviting a whole lot more. It doesn't just hang around politely. It barges in, makes itself at home, and starts telling you what to do. Okay, Section 3, a wealthy mindset shift. And the subtitle, the one word that changed everything. So you're probably wondering, how on earth do you break a cycle that's so ingrained? Well, for her, the big change didn't start with some huge fight. Nope. It started with a single word that completely changed how she saw her own worth. In that one word, it was wealthy. But not in the way you might think. Not just about money. It was about being wealthy in every sense. A wealth of self-respect, a wealth of time and energy. It was about seeing her own well-being as this incredibly valuable, precious thing. And this chart, man, it just lays it all out so clearly. On one side, you've got the old story, which was all about scarcity, that fear of confrontation, that feeling like she had to settle for less. And then on the other side, you've got the new wealthy story, which is all about abundance. It's about putting herself first, demanding respect, and truly knowing her own value. The whole way she thought about things just shifted. All right, Section 4 is called The Moment of No. The subtitle, the confrontation that broke the cycle. So now that she's armed with this completely new mindset, you just know a test is coming, right? And it did. This led to the moment, the big one, that finally smashed that old pattern to pieces. So get this, just as she's having this huge internal shift, the pressure from the outside gets even worse. When it was time to renew that agreement, the other woman didn't just ask for the same unfair deal. She actually added even more demands. It's like she was pushing to see just how far that old patience would stretch. And to respond, after all those years of saying yes, it was just one word, a really simple, really powerful word, no. That's it. After all that time, that one tiny word was a massive break from her entire past. It was that wealthy mindset in action.
But let's be real. Breaking a pattern you've had your whole life is never easy. She talks about how it felt completely out of character, just wrong. Her stomach was in knots from anxiety, that physical feeling of pushing through some major fear. But, and this is the most important part, she didn't back down. She stood her ground.
And that brings us to our final section. Section 5, My Boundaries, My Rules. Subtitle, A New Personal Manifesto for 2025. Because that no wasn't just about ending something. Oh no, it was the start of a whole new way of living. It led to this huge realization about who's really responsible for how we're treated. And honestly, this might be the most powerful takeaway from her entire story. Instead of just blaming the other woman for being demanding, she took a hard look at herself and took full ownership. She realized that she was the one who kept opening the door. She was the one who had chosen patience over her own self-respect again and again.
So, from that realization, she came up with this really clear 3-step plan for herself. Step 1, take full responsibility for your part in it. Step 2, forgive yourself. You didn't know any better back then. And step 3, which is absolutely crucial, stop asking for permission to be respected. Just stop waiting for other people to give you something you should be demanding for yourself, right from the very beginning.
And this is her new mantra, her new declaration. My boundaries are non-negotiable, and patience will no longer be my prison. Wow. She completely reframes patience here, not as some great thing, but as a jail cell she put herself in. And her boundaries? Those are the keys to her freedom. It's just such a powerful statement of taking back your own life.
And so that really brings us to the final question for you. Salima's story is about escaping the prison of her own patience, but it really makes you think, doesn't it? It makes us look at our own lives. What's that thing you're proud of, that identity you hold on to that might actually be holding you captive? What prison are you ready to escape?